It was the day everything changed, the day when a simple act of truth unraveled a web of lies that no one saw coming. Meet Sarah, a brilliant young girl with an IQ that could rival any genius, but with a heart bigger than her mind. Sarah had always been protective of her mom. But when her mom, Rachel, began dating a man named Greg, Sarah's world turned upside down. Greg wasn't just a regular guy. He was rude, manipulative, and everything her mom had promised to avoid. In a partner, it was supposed to be a fresh start, but Sarah could sense something was off, and she wasn't about to let her mom marry someone who was more of a disaster than a dream. Sarah, clever and sharp, knew she couldn't just sit back and watch her mom make a huge mistake. As a child, she'd always been told to stay in the background, but this time was different. Her mom's happiness was on the line, and she couldn't let Greg's lies go unchecked. After months of digging into his past, Sarah uncovered secrets that Greg had been hiding, secrets that would destroy his reputation if the world found out. But how could she expose him without causing more harm to her mom? The answer came to her in the most unexpected way. Sarah decided to confront Greg in public, right in front of his so-called friends and the people who trusted him. She knew that if she could expose him in front of everyone, the truth would spread faster than any lie he had ever told. And so, in a crowded coffee shop on a typical Saturday afternoon, she did just that, with the confidence of someone who knew. They were right. Sarah took the stage, figuratively speaking, and in front of a stunned crowd, she laid out Greg's lies. The revelation was a bombshell. Everyone, including her mum, was in shock, and Greg stood frozen, caught red-handed in a web of deceit. But as the room fell silent, waiting for Rachel to react, a figure in the back of the room caught Sarah's eye. A tall, handsome man with a cold, composed demeanor stood watching her every move. His gaze was sharp, calculating, and oddly intrigued. Little did Sarah know, the man wasn't just an onlooker. He was Noah Langston, a powerful CEO with a reputation for getting what he wanted. Known for his stoic nature and ruthless business tactics, Noah had built his empire from scratch, and the last thing he had time for was drama. Yet here he was, captivated by the young girl who had just exposed a man's lies with such fierce determination. Noah had seen many things in his life: power struggles, betrayal, and corporate warfare, but he'd never seen someone like Sarah. She wasn't just smart, she was fearless. There was something magnetic about her, something that made him want to know more. The more he watched her handle the situation with grace, the more his curiosity grew. What kind of person would stand up so boldly for someone else? And why did it feel like he had to get involved? As Sarah finished speaking and the crowd erupted into whispers, she turned to face her mom, hoping for some sort of relief or gratitude. But instead of the support she'd imagined, her mother's eyes were filled with confusion and hurt. "Sarah," Rachel began, her voice trembling, "why didn't you come to me first? Why didn't you trust me to handle this?" Sarah's heart sank. It wasn't that she didn't trust her mom. It was that she couldn't watch her be manipulated any longer. But the sting of her mom's disappointment cut deeper than any of Greg's lies ever could. Sarah had done what she thought was right, but in that moment, she realized that even the smartest person in the room couldn't always fix everything with logic alone. Relationships were complicated, and love was often messy. Noah watched the exchange between Sarah and her mom, intrigued by the complexity of their dynamic. He had no idea what had just happened. But one thing was clear: Sarah wasn't just any girl. She was someone who acted on principle, who believed in doing the right thing, no matter the consequences. And that was something Noah respected more than anything. As the tension in the room began to settle, Noah found himself walking towards Sarah. The crowd was still murmuring, but he paid no attention to them. He had a question burning in his mind, one that could change everything. When he reached her, he paused, his gaze meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart race. "You're a brave one," he said quietly, his voice low, almost as if he was speaking to himself. "Not many people would do what you did today." Sarah blinked, momentarily caught off guard. She hadn't expected anyone to acknowledge her actions, let alone someone like him. "I did what I had to do," she replied, her voice steady, despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Noah didn't move. Instead, he studied her for a moment longer, as if weighing something in his mind. "I think you could help me with something," he said, his words laced with an intriguing promise. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Help you? With what?" Noah smirked, a spark of amusement in his eyes. "Let's just say you've got the kind of mind I could use for a little business venture. And who knows, maybe we can help each other out." His offer hung in the air, leaving Sarah to wonder just what kind of person he truly was. Was this just a strange business proposition? Or was there something more? And what about her mom? How would she react to Noah's sudden interest in her life? Sarah was left standing there, her thoughts racing. She had exposed Greg's lies, yes, but now she had unknowingly set the stage for something much bigger. And the question remained, could she trust Noah, the man who seemed to be both captivated by her and holding secrets of his own? As Sarah stared into Noah's eyes, she felt the weight of the moment. Her world had just gotten a whole lot more complicated, and this was only the beginning. Sarah's heart was still racing as Noah's words echoed in her mind. "I think you could help me with something." What did he mean by that? Was he just interested in her sharp mind? Or was there more to it? She wanted to brush it off, to focus on the mess she had just created with her mom. But there was something about Noah's gaze that held her attention. It wasn't just the mysterious aura of a successful CEO. It was the way he spoke, the quiet authority in his voice. It made her feel important. She had always been the quiet genius, the girl who lived in the background. But Noah, in his calm, commanding way, had made her feel seen, and that terrified her. As she walked out of the coffee shop with her mom, the weight of the past few hours hung over her like a heavy cloud. Rachel was silent beside her, and for a moment, Sarah wondered if she had just lost the most important person in her life. Her mom was upset, hurt even, and Sarah couldn't blame her. Maybe she should have talked to Rachel first. Maybe she could have found another way to handle things. But Greg was dangerous. Sarah knew that. She had seen the signs, the way he manipulated every situation to his advantage. He didn't care about Rachel. He only cared about his own desires. And the worst part was that Rachel, for all her strength, had been blind to it. As they reached their apartment, Rachel finally spoke, her voice quiet. "Sarah, I love you, but you've crossed a line today. I didn't ask for your help, and now I'm the one who has to clean up the mess. Do you understand how humiliating this is for me?" Sarah swallowed hard. She didn't know how to respond. She had acted on impulse, on her desire to protect her mother. But now, as she saw the hurt in Rachel's eyes, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice filled with regret. "I just didn't want you to be hurt." Rachel softened, her expression faltering for a brief moment. "I know, sweetie, I know, but I'm an adult. I can handle my own relationships." Sarah nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She had always been the one to fix things. At school, with her friends, and now with her mom. But maybe this time, she had crossed a line. Maybe it wasn't her job to fix everything. That night, as Sarah sat in her room, her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Sarah," came a familiar voice. "It's Noah. I know you didn't expect to hear from me again so soon, but I think we need to talk." Sarah's stomach fluttered at the sound of his voice. She had been expecting to never hear from him again, especially after the way things had ended that afternoon. But here he was, calling her. "About what?" she asked, trying to sound calm, though her heart was beating faster with every word. "I think you're more than just a smart girl. There's potential in you, potential to make things happen, to change the way people think. I want to offer you a chance, Sarah, a chance to work with me. Help me with something that could change everything." Sarah hesitated, torn. What could Noah possibly want with her? She wasn't some big-shot business person or an influencer. She was just a girl trying to protect her mom from making a huge mistake. "I don't understand," she said, her voice wary. "Why me?" Noah paused before answering. "You think fast, Sarah. You don't let anyone push you around. You speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. That's the kind of person I need. And I think that, with the right guidance, you could do a lot more than just expose a man's lies. You could expose the lies that run the world." His words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. Sarah didn't know what to say. Was he offering her a job? Or was this some sort of game to him? "I don't know," she said finally. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for whatever you're asking." Noah's tone shifted, softer this time. "Think about it, Sarah. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime." He hung up before she could respond, leaving her with more questions than answers. Was this the right decision? Should she trust Noah, a man she barely knew, but who had already shown a level of interest in her that she hadn't expected? The next few days were a blur. Sarah tried to focus on school, tried to make things right with her mom, but her mind kept drifting back to Noah's offer. Was this her chance to prove to the world that she wasn't just a shy genius? Was this her moment to finally break out of the background and step into the spotlight? But as the days passed, Sarah began to notice something unsettling. Her mom seemed more distant than usual. Rachel was still upset, yes, but she was also acting strangely, almost as though she were hiding something. Sarah noticed the way she would glance at her phone, the way her eyes would flicker nervously when Sarah asked about her day. It was like there was something Rachel wasn't telling her. One evening, when Rachel left the house for a quick errand, Sarah couldn't resist. She grabbed her mom's phone, unlocking it with the passcode she'd memorized over the years. What she found shocked her to the core. There, in the messages, was a conversation between Rachel and none other than Greg. But these weren't just any messages. They were filled with plans for a wedding that Rachel had never mentioned. To Sarah, her mom had been planning to marry Greg all along. Sarah's heart sank. Had she just ruined everything for nothing? Had her mom been lying to her all this time? The realization hit her like a punch in the gut. She had exposed Greg's lies, but in doing so, she had torn apart the fragile trust between her and her mom. And now, she wasn't sure if she could fix what she had broken. The tension was unbearable. Everything was hanging by a thread. Her relationship with her mom, the potential offer from Noah, and the trust she had once taken for granted. Sarah knew one thing for sure. The storm was far from over, and now she had to face the hardest question of all. Could she still save everything? Sarah's mind raced as she stared at her mom's phone, the evidence clear in front of her. Rachel was planning to marry Greg. And what's worse, it seemed like the whole thing was a lie from the start. Had her mom been stringing her along, pretending she didn't know what kind of man Greg truly was. How could Rachel have kept this from her for so long? Was everything she'd fought for, everything she'd done to protect her, in vain? With trembling hands, Sarah put the phone down. Her thoughts a whirlwind. She had to face her mom. She had to know the truth, the whole truth, no matter how painful. But the thought of confronting Rachel, of everything coming crashing down, filled her with dread. What if her mom still couldn't see the truth? What if Sarah had already lost her trust forever? Just as Sarah steeled herself to talk to Rachel, her phone buzzed again. This time it was Noah's name lighting up the screen. She hesitated, but then answered. Sarah. His voice was calm, but there was an urgency behind it. I know what you're going through, and I'm here to help. But you need to trust me. I think you and I can turn things around. Make sure your mom never goes through this again. Sarah's breath caught. How could you possibly help with this? It's my mom's life, her choices. I've already made a mess of everything. You're not alone in this. I can help you uncover the truth, Sarah, but you have to trust me. Let me in. Let's expose the real Greg for who he is. Not just for your mom, but for the people he's hurt. Sarah paused. Everything she had done until now had been an impulse, an attempt to fix something that wasn't entirely hers to fix. But Noah, he wasn't just offering help, he was offering a solution. The thought of finally getting Greg out of their lives for good, of clearing her mom's name and reputation, made Sarah's heart race. Maybe this was the way to make things right. But before she could respond, a loud knock on the door pulled her back to reality. Her mom was home. Sarah took a deep breath, pushed the phone into her pocket, and went to open the door. There was no escaping the confrontation now. Sarah, Rachel began, her eyes tired, as though she had already been preparing for this moment. I know you saw the messages. I should have told you sooner, but you should have told me the truth. Mom! Sarah interrupted, the words spilling out before she could stop them. I'm trying to protect you, but you're still blind to what's happening. Greg is manipulating you and you're falling for it. Rachel's face faltered. For a moment, she looked like she might argue, but then she sank into the couch, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Sarah, I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to be weak. I wanted to believe in something, someone, after everything that's happened. But maybe you're right. Maybe I've been so caught up in what I want that I've ignored what's real. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. It wasn't just the relief of finally being heard. It was the realization that her mom, too, had been living in a lie. And yet, they were still standing together. They had a chance to fix this. I just want you to be happy, Mom. I don't care about anything else. Rachel looked at her, her gaze softening. I know, sweetheart, and I'm sorry. You've been the strong one all along. Sarah felt a weight lift off her chest. It wasn't over. The battle wasn't won yet, but they had each other. They had the truth, and they were going to fight for it together. As Sarah and Rachel sat down to work out a plan, the phone buzzed again. This time it was Noah. I can help you take down Greg. His voice was more urgent now. But we need to act fast. He's already made his move. If we don't expose him now, we'll lose everything. Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for her mom's phone, glancing at the messages between Rachel and Greg. The lies were more than just twisted words. They were dangerous. This was bigger than just a wedding. It was about power, control, and exposing the real Greg for who he was. Mom, Sarah said quietly, her voice firm now. We're going to expose him. We're going to do this the right way. Together. Rachel nodded, her expression filled with both fear and determination. Yes, we will. And this time, we'll make sure no one can ever lie to us again. The stage was set. The battle lines were drawn. With Noah's help, Sarah knew they could gather the evidence they needed, bring Greg's deception to light, and put an end to this twisted game. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be worth it. As the tension built, Sarah felt a surge of hope. This wasn't just about saving her mum anymore. It was about reclaiming their lives, their truth, and their future. And as she stood with Rachel, preparing to take the next step, Sarah realized something important. She was no longer just the quiet genius in the background. She was the one making the decisions. She was in control of her own story.